Hey everybody, it's Dana and welcome back to my YouTube channel and blog. Today I'm participating in the Ink on 3 and Gina K Designs collaboration blog hop. You can see all the details and the hop list over on my blog, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm working with some products here from Gina K Designs as well as Ink on 3. The new Bad and Boujee stamp set from Ink on 3 is a new release and it's perfect timing for this collaboration. Next, I'm coming in with some white cardstock, and this is from Gina K. And I'm also coming in with this stencil, and this is called Leafy. I love this stencil because I love the details, but I like anything that looks like a leaf. So to get my stencil to stay in place, I am going to grab my Pixie spray. If you guys have not heard of this stuff, it is like Pixie magic in your stamp room. It is a light tack spray that helps to keep all your stencils in place, especially if you have like very intricate stencils. This is perfect to keep those stencils in place. You just need to apply a quick coating on the back of the stencil. Give it about, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute to kind of dry back a little bit. Now, like I said, it's low tack, so it's not going to rip your paper when you go to peel it back up. It is just going to help keep your stencil in place. So I will use my grid mat here, and this is going to help me be able to line up that stencil and also just to make sure that my paper is straight. I like using a grid mat anytime I'm working to make sure like my paper's not crooked, and if I'm writing out something or stenciling, I want to make sure my stencil is straight as well. So I'm just going to rub over that stencil again because it is a very intricate stencil. Just going to rub it over, and as you can see, that came right off my mat. So it's going to stick to the paper, but it's not going to be so tacky. It's going to stick to anything that spray was on. Now I grabbed a scratch piece of paper because I am going to be working with the Glitz glitter gel. This stuff is like my powerhouse, my go-to now. Absolutely love it. And I'm going to get a spatula as well as my stencil pal out so I can do a little bit of mixing. So this gel here is the white gel. It's very pretty on its own, but I want to add a little bit of color to it. And I want a little bit of a muted color. So I went ahead and I grabbed my Distress Oxide. This one is Abandoned Coral. And I'm just going to use the packaging that the stencil came in just to apply some of that color down. Now all of this will wipe right back off of that packaging. So if you do that, don't worry about it. Just make sure that you quickly clean off your packaging as well as your tools so it doesn't just get like really stuck on there, and then it'll just wipe off. I just run my packaging and my stencil and tools right into my sink, run some Dawn over them, just a little bit, the Blue Dawn, and a little bit of water, and everything comes clean. And the tackiness will stay on that stencil until you like really give it a good scrubbing and wash off. So you can use it multiple times with just one spray. All right, so I have that Glitz glitter gel mixed up, and it's very, very pretty. It's like a nice light shade of pink. And I'm going to bring that gel to the top of my card panel. Anytime I stencil, this is pretty much about 99% of the way I stencil. I like to bring the product up to the top of my stencil and then begin to work it down. Now, I don't have a lot of product. I don't have a lot, but I'm going to show you how you can keep working this gel to get into all of those crevices of a detailed die. So I'll grab just the rest of that off of my surface, and I'll come up from the bottom part. Now I'm just going to keep going over, dragging that gel, because even though it was just a little bit, it's just enough to finish this panel. Next, I will come in with my stencil pal, and I'll lightly go over. I'm very lightly just scraping the top of that. And you're going to see once I pull this up how much product I still had left over that I can keep working into this paper. So don't start with a whole bunch of product that you have colored and can't put back in your original container. Go ahead and work your paper. This will give you a better opportunity to have a great color. But you can see, look how much of that product I still had left. So I can go right back into some of the areas that I feel like might not be totally covered yet. and work that in. Because remember, once you tint one of these colors, you cannot put it back into the original container. So I have just a little bit left. I'm just going to fill in some areas. Now I'm done. And now you're going to see how this Pixie spray was perfect for holding that stencil in place. And all I did was lightly peel up. And look at that. It did not tear. It did not ruin my paper. And that sparkle is fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and set that aside to dry. And now we're going to come in with our stamp set. I love, love, love the sentiments on this stamp set. And it's going to be a little joke between me and my daughter, well, and my son too, because they call me a little bit bougie because I believe like certain things have certain places. Like wine belongs in a wine glass and not a red solo cup. So they have a tendency to call me bougie. So this stamp set is like perfect for me. All right, so I went ahead because this is a new stamp and just rubbed the back of my hand on it because I want to use some ink on 3. This is the Juicy. This is like a clear watermark ink. And I want to make sure I get a good hold. So I'll go ahead and tap that down. Now, I like to do this. I've kind of gotten into the habit. Like if I stamp something once and it's doesn't take up a full sheet of paper, I will stamp it out just multiple times because I know I'm going to use this stamp set again, and I know I'm going to need some lips, and I know I want those lips to be embossed in the future. So I just like to stamp out multiples. This just kind of saves me for later. I'll go ahead and heat emboss all of them at one time, and then I'll just stick them in the packaging. And then once I need another one of those lips, it's already done for me. All right, so excuse my head. I'm just coming in trying to make sure that I don't overlap my cute little lips here. Because anytime you're using this Juicy ink, it goes on clear. So you're not going to really be able to see it on white right away. So I'm just kind of like tilting my head over just a little bit so I can see. All right, I'll go ahead and set that aside. And then I want to come in, like I said, with some embossing powder. I am using the Gold Rush embossing powder. This is my go-to gold now. It stays right in my desk drawer because I love it so much. It's not a brassy gold and it's not a yellowy gold. It's just such a perfect gold. So I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle that all the way around those lips. And you can tell now once you start putting embossing powder on top of that Juicy ink, you can obviously see your image. So I just want to make sure I get full coverage on these lips. And look how pretty they are. I wish I was bold enough to wear like lipstick like that. I'll just sprinkle on a tad bit more. And I'm just going to lightly tap it off. And then I can go ahead and start heat setting this. Now I love to heat set. I love embossing, one, because I think it's magical to see it transform from just like this gorgeous powder into a shiny, shiny object. So I just want to make sure to dump all that back in there because I don't want to waste a lick of that. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my lid on it because I know I am famous for knocking over something on my desk. And now I would go ahead and grab my heat tool. Now I am going to get my heat tool pretty hot before I bring it to my lips. And that's just with any embossing. You just want to make sure that your heat gun is relatively hot. That one prevents a lot of warping, but it also helps to speed up your drying time. I like to go from the back to the front to the back to the front anytime I am heating embossing. This keeps the embossing powder from blowing all over the place. So I start from the back. And then I will come around to the front because that embossing powder being heated from the back is already warm. So I'm not going to end up blowing any embossing powder anywhere. So I'm just going to show you how gorgeous this is. You'll see that it goes from like this dull kind of gold to look. It's like putting on lipstick, y'all. Look how pretty that gold. So like I said, this is Gold Rush, and it's like my favorite gold, y'all. And I'm going to go ahead and finish that last pair of lips. But look how gorgeous this is. Let me get this shine on that for you. So that's that gorgeous Gold Rush embossing powder. Now, I am going to just go ahead and grab myself some scissors, and I'm going to fussy cut out my lips. It's really easy. It's a simple lip design, so it'll be very easy to cut apart. Now, while I'm cutting this out, I just want to let you guys know that there is a huge blog hop going on. There is $50 gift certificates that can be won, one from Gina K and the other one from Ink on 3. And all you need to do is make sure to comment on our blogs, share this love with everybody. You can also share this video if you want. And this way, at the end, everybody's name will be put into a pool and then you'll be able to win a prize. But head on over to my blog. It's GOT, Joy Creations, all one word.com. And you can find out all the information and who's participating in the hop. All right, so now I went around with my pair of scissors, and these are Action Spring scissors. They're my fave. I'll have those linked below as well. I went ahead and trimmed out those lips, and now I have some gorgeous 14 karat gold lips to put on my card. Next, I'm going to come in with another piece of that Gina K paper, and I'm just going to trim down this paper. I'm going to be using the Kisses die from the Ink on 3 Bad and Boujee stamp set, and I want to gold and emboss that Kisses. So I'm just lining up a piece of paper. I'll trim it down just enough so I can get that whole die across that paper. Now for the gold, of course, I'm going right back in with that beautiful Ink on 3. So again, this is the Juicy ink, and I'm just rubbing this all over that Gina K paper. I'm just getting a good coating of it because this is going to give me the opportunity to run my die through this. So I'll go ahead and lay that down. You see I'm just kind of twisting and turning and rubbing back and forth just to get that ink onto that white piece of paper. And this is good, especially like if you do heat emboss something and you don't have a matching ink color. This is the perfect way to, or matching cardstock. This is the perfect way to get that matchy look that I'm going for on this one. So just go ahead and pick up that piece of paper and I'll sprinkle back on that Gold Rush. Now this is going to end up sticking to the paper because obviously I had pushed down that ink pad, but it's okay. I'm going to have to live with that for now. I guess I placed another order of some Gold Rush here. Again, I will pour that back into my container, and you can see how easy and actually how fine, a fine grade this embossing powder is. It's awesome. And then I'll go ahead and set that aside again, and then I can come back in and go ahead and heat up this piece of paper. Again, I cannot stress enough to make sure your heat gun is hot. It helps to melt that embossing powder easier and quicker. Again, I'm coming from the back of that paper, making sure I get the back of that really nice and warm. You're going to see it bow a little bit, and then I'll come back over to the front. And then again, the magic of heat embossing, as you can see right here, it goes from that dull gold color to this beautiful color. So I'm just going to go right around the sides, and I'm trying to make sure that I give even heat everywhere. I don't hold my heat gun in a place for too long. So you just want to make sure that you just keep moving that heat gun around. And then look how gorgeous that heat embossing is. It's perfect. It's like glass. All right, now since I have that done, I am going to fan that off just a little bit because it is hot. And I'm just going to get that to cool down just so I can touch it. And then I can go ahead and take my Kisses and run that through my die cut machine. Now, after I ran that through my die cut machine, I did run it again with just the rest of that white Gina K paper, just so I can get 2 more Kisses because I want to build this up. Now, you can see me using this syringe, and I'm pretty sure you're like, what in the world is she doing? This is not a medical show. But this is a syringe full of my multi-matte medium. And you can get these little syringes from my friend Corin, and I'll go ahead and link that below. But this has become like my handy dandy tool now in my craft room. It sits right on the side of my desk, and it is perfect for adding just a little bit of touches of glue that I need to stack up my dies now. So as you can see how I'm holding it, I would not be a good candidate for a nurse. because that's probably not the way I should be holding it, but it's a very comfortable grip when I'm using it for glue. So yeah, I would be a horrible nurse because that would not be the way I would want to stab a patient. All right, I have all of the pieces stacked up on top of each other right now. And that white behind it is just giving me enough lift with that beautiful kisses made with that gold embossing. So now it becomes more of a thicker embellishment instead of just a regular flat kind of card. Anytime you use this glue though, I tell you to pull back to let the air out, and then make sure you put that rubber tip back on the top just so it doesn't dry out. I'll go ahead and set that aside, and then we'll get busy making the card. Now for the card, my panel is now nice and dry. And look how gorgeous that kisses looks on that. And it has a lot of sparkle to this card, but it's not overwhelming. Now I do want to go ahead and trim down this panel because I am going to put this on a white card base. And I do want a white trim around it. So I'll come in with my favorite other little tool that sits on my desk. This is the Tonic Studios paper trimmer. And it's something that it sits right on the corner of my desk, as well with my Gemini Junior. Everything I like to keep handy within an arm's reach. So when I try to trim down a panel, I try to do it evenly. I take off a little bit on each side so I can kind of keep the design centered in the middle of my card panel. That's just a little tip, a little Dana tip. Just make sure that everything's like lined up evenly. If you just take a little bit from each side. All right, now since I have that trimmed down, I can go ahead and clean up my mess, and we can go ahead and put this together. Now, I'm going to keep this card relatively clean and simple. I do not want to overwhelm this card with a whole bunch of anything. So I have that white card base already cut down. This is an A2 size, and that fits perfectly. And then to get this to be put on the back, I am just going to use my Gina K tape roller. This is the adhesive. But I am going to put a little bit more of this adhesive onto the back. Because it had some moisture to it from the gel, I just want to make sure that this stays in place over time. I mean, look how gorgeous that design is. That is such a beautiful, beautiful design. And it does not overwhelm my kisses, which is perfect. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab those lips that I cut out. And I'm just lining everything up. I like to do this before I glue anything down just to kind of get the placement where I want things. But I realized that I want another set of lips on this. So again, this is a good reason why you stamp multiple things out at once. Then you can trim them out and have them for your cards when you're ready. All right, now since that one's trimmed out, I think that looks better with the two kisses because it's just adorable. Look at those gorgeous lips. All right, now what's so great is that the pattern of the stencil does not overwhelm what I'm putting it on top. So just make sure you keep that in mind when you're doing things. You want to make sure that everything's like cohesive. One thing doesn't stand out too much more than the other, and it will give your card nice balance. All right, so next I'm coming right back in with that syringe, and I'm adding that glue all to the back one more time. And this wet medium over the texture of the stencil is perfect. Sometimes when you just try to use regular adhesive over stencils, it has a tendency to maybe not stick and stir in places. So if you use a wet medium, this is multi-matte medium. If you use even regular glue, it's going to have a tendency to stick a little bit better. So now once I have all of that done, I can very carefully flip this over and place that down on my card. Now again, this card panel is going to have a little bit of texture, and that wet medium is really going to help me out. So I can go ahead and gently tap each one of those into place. And then our card is almost done. I'm just figuring out which way I want to lay my beautiful little kisses. And I do believe I want to have these popped up. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab myself some foam tape, and I'm going to go ahead and start popping these lips up. All right, I am going to use a little bit more of that multi-matte medium to the back of this just to make sure that those lips stay in place. Now you don't have to keep gluing, closing up the glue. That's just out of habit for me. So I'm just going to go ahead and put those lips down, surrounding that beautiful Kisses font. And then I'll go ahead and press that in place. Now, I did want to add just a few sequins, not many, but I felt like I needed some gold around this card, and I didn't want to add any more sentiments to this or any more lips. So I'm just placing down some gold sequins, and I'm just being pretty random with this, totally pretty random with this. Again, I pulled out that glue. I'll go ahead and place those down. And that is pretty much going to wrap up the card. Thank you guys so much for watching today. If you're new to my channel, please feel free to subscribe and make sure to hit that bell so you know when I have another video up. All right, everybody, that's a wrap. I will see you guys in another video soon. Don't forget to swing by my blog and check out all the details about this beautiful blog hop. Until the next time, everybody, take care, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.